As promised, in this video, we will finally be building a screen of our app, the home page. To start getting into building, let's dissect this to see how we can build this responsibly using the columns and rows format of Flutterflow. To start, we can view this whole thing as one big column. The first item in this column is this top row. This itself is a row because we have this over here and then a second section here. This second section is actually a column because we have this one text stacked on top of this second text. What do you think this second item in the column is? If you guessed row, you would be correct because we have one item on this side, this search bar, and a second on this side, which is filters. Then we have another item, which is just a row, and this is going to be completely left aligned because we see it only on this side. Under that, we have yet another row, because we see all of these separate items. If we dissect one of these items, we see that we have this top part, which is a column of an image here, and then text under. Then we also have a bottom part, which is similar to this, where it's a row. We have text over here, icon over here, and then this text is composed of a column. Under that, we have another row. This is left aligned again, and it just has a header. And then we have yet another scrollable row. We have an image here. We will probably make it just part of the container because it's easier. This image and text are in a row of its own, and under that is a second row with image, text, icon, more text. Now this is a lot, but it's how we're going to be building this out, and it's important to understand the overall structure so we can build this. Without further ado, let's get started. To start, Flutterflow gives us this app bar on every page, but if we look at our design, we don't really need it, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. In this, we also determined that the whole thing was a column, so I'm going to go here and just start off by dragging a column in. Right off the bat, we could just add padding on this column, left and right padding, so we don't have to worry about adding it on every single item. Actually, I'm going to make that 24, but just having it on the column instead of every item in the column makes it much easier. Let's build out the first one. I'm going to start by adding a container. This is going to keep us organized. We can name this as well. I'm going to call this header. I'm going to go down here and give it infinite width, so it stretches across the whole way. The gray for just right now, so we can see it a little better. In this, let's add a row like we identified earlier. Give this row some top and bottom padding, let's say 16 pixels. And we can see here that this is all the way to the left and this is all the way to the right. So we're going to make our alignment this split. This has this tiny profile picture. Let's add one in as well. Now is when you're going to get used to this widget editor. We're going to go down to Base Elements, find an image, and drag it in. This is a really big image. I'm just going to use these handlebars to reduce it. I'm going to make it a 40 by 40 square. I also need some text, and we see automatically these go on opposite sides. These need to switch, so I'm going to copy the image and paste it again. Now they're really split like we want them. This text is going to be our display small or semi-bold and 20 pixels. We need these two texts on top of each other, so I'm going to copy this and paste. So I'm going to right-click on this and choose Wrap Widget. We identified that this needed a column, so this is a good way to do that. Right-click, click Wrap Widget, and wrap it in a container, in a column. We can see that there's now a column around this text, and we can add a second piece of text in. This is going to be our title large or 11 pixels and not bold. Now I can make this our white so we can see everything a little better. This text says, "What are you cooking today?" These are center aligned though, whereas this one is left aligned. So if we click back on our column, we can see here that we can make them like so. I'm also going to go ahead and put them in the center. This is something we didn't cover in our responsive design video, but instead of stretching the entirety of the way that this header gives it, which we can see it's stretching, I want to make it contract to just what the text is, so I'm going to choose this, and we can see this gets smaller. That way we can click on our header as well. That way we can click on our row, make that smaller as well. And remove any height on the header, so it just condenses as much as possible. Now let's build the second one. I hope by now you've got a hang of it. I'm actually just going to copy, paste another one. This time instead of header, we can name it search. Instead of an image like this, we are going to drag an icon button in. I'm going to delete that. Our icon button is going to be 40. We're going to make it filled with this primary color. We can make the border radius much smaller. 8 pixels looks great. That's what this top image is at as well. Go back here, let's make the icon color, our primary background, this white. I'm just going to choose a random filter icon. I'm going to delete our column. So now we just have a row on this icon button. And go down here to Form Elements, drag in a text field. To go back to the widget tree, we can switch these around. Better. And we can edit our text field a little because it's looking kind of strange. We're going to make this height 40 as well, just to keep it consistent. I want to change this text, so I'm going to go down here. This should say search recipe. And I'm going to make this my 11 pixels in gray. Right now we can see there's this underlining, which I'm not really a fan of, so I'm going to go down here to Input Decoration Properties and make it a full outline. The border's looking a little too thick for me. Go down here, make it a 1. Much better. And I'm going to select this dense to make it a little smaller. That size is looking more appropriate. Now here we have this nice search, so how can we add that in? We want to go down here to Icon Properties and choose an icon. I'm just going to select a simple search. This one looks good to me. And make it my gray color. I also went ahead and made the color of our label this alternate instead of the text because I want it even lighter. Okay, this is looking good to me for now, but these two are still really squished. So I'm going to go back to my row and choose some item spacing. Let's say 16 pixels in between. We built the first two components. I'll be back in a second.